Hi everyone, this is Atalay Atasu. I'm a Technology and Operations Management faculty at INSEAD. Together with my strategy colleague Karel, we have been directing the INSEAD Business Sustainability Executive Education programs and the INSEAD Business Sustainability webinars for the past 2 years. We are now in season 2 of the webinar series, and this year's focus has been on technologies that can help accelerate business sustainability or help accelerate the alignment of business objectives and sustainability goals. The first 3 webinars we had this year focused on 3 sets of technologies: satellite and Internet of Things, new materials, and AI and generative AI. If you want to listen to the contributors, the webinars have been recorded and can be accessed on INSEAD Lifelong Learning. You can access these materials by looking at the QR code on the previous slide. If you can go back, Anna. So the etiquette for the webinar, the way this setup works is that you will all be muted with your videos turned off. The chat box will also be disabled. And in the meantime, you can use the Q&A tab in your Zoom screens to suggest questions for the speakers. The webinar will be recorded and you will be able to watch it in the near future. So our setup this time is, as I mentioned a little earlier, going to be different from the last year. Last year, in the 4th webinar, the last webinar before the awards ceremony, we ran a clinic on EcoVadis, a platform, a sustainability platform that is operating in the business of supply chain sustainability ratings. That company was founded in 2007, a long time back, and had already a 16-year history before we did the clinic. And they had become a unicorn in 2023. It was founded by an INSEAD MBA alumni, Pierre-François Thaler, and the co-CEO, Frederick Trinell. This year, our clinic is going to be quite different. We are going to focus on a company that was started just 4 years ago. It is at the beginning of the journey towards a unicorn status and was founded by a female entrepreneur and a disruptor, Janne Aas-Jakobsen. The track record is shorter, but we believe that it is quite promising. The industry we are looking at is very different from the ones we have focused so far: construction, a hard-to-abate industry. The buildings and construction sector is by far the largest emitter of greenhouse gases, accounting for a staggering 37% of global emissions. Janne, welcome to the 2024 clinic.
Thank you so much for having me.
Janne is a Norwegian, a structural engineer by background, and has had executive and consulting positions in a variety of industries in Norway. So in the spirit of this year's focus on how to accelerate business sustainability, we chose Consigli, Janne's company, because it is using generative AI to accelerate sustainability in an important, and as I just mentioned, a hard-to-abate industry, construction industry. Janne, can you please describe what activity in this industry you are trying to disrupt? What has been the standard procedure so far, and for how long, and why does it need to be disrupted?
Well, real estate development is one of the few industries that has a declining efficiency for decades. And it's also the industry with the highest level of risk and conflict. So 85% of projects experience cost overruns, and almost 50% have cost overruns that is more than 15%. And these are on large numbers. We also see that 5 to 10% of all the projects ends up in court. And the thing is, the more we have digitized and the slower the industry has produced buildings, and the quality hasn't been that much improved. So when a building is planned, you use architects to find the form and everything that you see, but there's also a large proportion that is done by a large team of engineers. So they're designing the ventilation system, the electrical system, the fire system, and so forth. And the scope of this work is usually 4 times the scope of the architects. But it seems somewhat that is unknown almost to the masses. And the thing is, the consultants are paid by the hour or a percentage fee of the overall cost. And the software industry is licensed to every person that is involved in engineering. So it means that we have a business model that does not provide efficiency or use of less material at all, because the more people, the more engineers you have in the project, the more people, more money the consultants earn. The more people you have in, the more money the software companies earn, and the more material you use, the more money the engineers earn. So, like you said, we usually call it a 40% industry. You said 37. And it's definitely a process that needs to be disrupted. We cannot continue using all that energy and all that material.
You're muted, Karel.
All right. Janne, can you describe, how actually you are disrupting this industry? So what are you doing to address the problem, and that has been solved in the classic way for I don't know how many years, as you were describing?
Yeah, our aim is to sort out the trouble from the very beginning. So in that early stage of defining the project, so we are called or classified as the category defining company. And when you get that stamp, you need to figure out what is the category. So we like to define the category as everything that needs to be described and developed, so that when a developer wants to have a new building, they can get a building permit, they can get the investors to buy into it, and everything is defined well enough so that you can get a contractor to give a binding bid, and that binding both in cost and in time. And it's a really highly complex task with many disciplines involved to find a good solution and describe the building in that way. But the good thing is that everything that in that complexity is known. We know the laws of physics, we know the standards, we know the code, we know what the global suppliers are capable of providing, and finding that optimal solution to a highly complex puzzle of knowns. That is actually what AI is good at. And over time, we have tried to become good at it with large groups of humans, but I think the results we show now is that even with help of traditional software, we can find so much better solutions with using this amazing AI set of technologies that is in the market. So we have collected people from all over the world, specialists in all kinds of AI, not just large language models, but all kinds, and put them together in our office in Oslo. Bit old-fashioned. We say everybody needs to come together and sit together and have lunch and build trust and create these new solutions together. And because nobody in real estate actually wants to buy technology, we kind of wrap the technology into this amazing coworker that you can employ. So we built what we call the autonomous engineer, and you can employ her into your organization. So Anna, can you help me introduce her to everyone? Here she is. So she's trained to reduce risk, cost, and carbon in real estate development projects. And that is what we need to do as an industry. But of course, she's not a human, so she's not as versatile as a human, but she has a very specific skill set. So if you show me the next slide, Anna. The first thing, or not the first thing we taught her, but normally she can come into a project and take that model. So the architectural model that everybody looks at, and it looks fine and all that. But what we see is that it's not always that architectural model describes the same building as what is described in text. So this is a perfect place where we can use AI to show where are the discrepancies in the material that we are sending out to get a binding offer from the contractor, as I described. So finding those discrepancies so that everybody agrees on what exactly are we going to build, so we don't have to tear down stuff afterwards. We can also go in and shuffle around standardized rooms, shuffle around parking lots to get the optimal pattern, so we can get as much out of that building as possible. That is really hard as well, because the car needs to be able to move. You need to be able to escape from hotel rooms, and it's a high complexity. We also go in and generate the structural system, make a full model out of that. We go in and generate the full technical systems, the ceiling grids where, ventilation, sprinkler, and lighting, and everything that needs to go into that ceiling to have a building that performs according to what the users of the building needs. We can go into the plant rooms and make sure they are the right size. So good plant rooms to operate and maintain, but not bigger than it has to be, because it costs a lot, and it also costs a lot of material to build plant rooms. We can generate the full tender documentation package without error. We can check it if people have made it, where you have risk, and we also sort the O&M documentation, checks everything and the quality of that. So it's a wide range of services where high complexity, we do know everything, and we put AI in to solve it with stochastic methods instead of logic, the old way that the software performs together with humans.
Right, very good. So from previous discussions, I remember that you said, well, I talked to many people and nobody was listening. All right. So, you know, what happens often through disruptors, of course, what motivated you to just start this very complex disruption?
Well, I started out as a structural engineer, and I've been in the industry for 25 years, and I've been working all along the value chain. But so I think my big revolution came when I visited San Francisco quite a few years back, and I was exposed to what AI was doing in other industries. So within medicine and media and all that. I think people know more about those industries as well, so that might be the reason they started to become big there. But the shift from logic code, so when everything we know, and we can ask a machine to do exactly like if then else coding, the way we've been coding for a long time, and then I saw what we were able to do with AI, so based on statistics and genealogy and neural networks, and finding solutions with high probability of being a good solution, really, really fast. And I interpreted that into my industry so that we can solve some of those puzzles that I'd known for so long. And I knew we were not finding good enough solutions. We struggle with interdisciplinary coordination, a lot of clashes and all that. And then I thought, well, this is probably, I have to admit, I was then at the C-level in a large engineering consultancy company. So I actually went back to the rest of the people in the C-level and said, 80% of what we're doing is going to be replaced by AI. And like you said, I talked to a lot of people in that phase, and not everybody was as eager to have a look at this as me. So finally, I decided that I just had to start from scratch and quit my job and start Consigli.
Okay, very courageous. So can you visualize for the audience how exactly you go about your job? You know, so in other words, there is a developer coming to you, or you're going to a developer. What are the steps that you and the developer go through to come to your solution?
We always start with a whole pain, like what if we're the 40% industry, we use 40% of the material, we use 40% of the energy. What if there is another way of doing this that can take down, currently we're on a 20% reduction. So we always try to motivate on sustainability, but of course for developers and general contractors, it really also helps that 20% of the reduction in use of material, doing it a lot faster, all that also is a lot of money. So it's also very sustainable money-wise. So normally when we come into to a project, we do everything we can to make a better project. So when, for instance, we've been in school projects where we come in with that first service that I described, where we go in and we'll see, well, the library has been drawn 3 times as big as what it has been budgeted for and that has been described that we need. So just to take out those discrepancies really, really early saves a lot of time, saves a lot of materials, takes out a lot of risk in the project. And then shuffling rooms into optimal pattern, we normally at 15 to 20% increase in key count. So meaning that, like in just a small hotel in Oslo, we were creating 7 million extra worth of value for the owner. But at the same time, there was a lot of hotel rooms that didn't have to be built in that city. So that's just the sustainable part of that as well. And then earlier this week, we were shuffling parking lots, a parking garage. And in just those hours it took to shuffle those parking places more optimal, the whole yearly salary for the autonomous engineer at that contractor was saved by the contractor, and we saved about 300 architectural hours and gained $250,000 extra value for the owner. We go in and we generate ceiling grids in office buildings, reducing like hundreds of sprinkler heads, like in one small building, just 400 lights fixtures. That is an enormous amount of money and material. So in one specific project where we saved those 400 fixtures, we were saving overall of 18% of the material. We also generate like collision-free models, so it's easy to take downwards into the detailed design and then further into the business process. And we half in sizes of plant rooms, so we make room for equipment in refurbishment projects so that you can refurbish the buildings, so you don't have to tear it down and build new ones. We go in tender documentations, we find like on an average 150 non-binding legal requirements in there. So what do you want to have a requirement in a contract that is not legally binding, right? 30 to 40 contradictions and missing requirements. Risk. So we often take out risk in just the written tender documentation documents that is up to 10% of the contract value. And doing that, like we had one customer that just said, well, in our project, Consigli identified the discrepancies of the U value. So how much energy a wall is allowed to let out, and finding that discrepancies made it so that the construction of the building actually was done in line with what the client's green financing was covered with. So if we hadn't discovered that discrepancies, the building had been built outside of the scope of the client's financing. So it's like it's connected to everything in the whole value chain.
Yeah.
And also with the quality of the O&M documentation.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a lot of detail, so we can start to see what you guys are doing. Yeah. Yeah. So Atalay, let me.
Janne, I was just checking the participant profiles, and I just noticed that we have a lot of INSEAD Business Sustainability Program graduates there.
Okay.
One thing, a running joke in that program is, we as academics are sometimes too critical to the extent that our participants call us pessimists. So one of the things that we try to do in these webinar series is try to predict the somewhat harder questions that the audience might come up with and pose them to you. So I'd like to take one of those if that's possible. So the first question is, how do you think the Consigli model affects the artistic design of the buildings? Do your solutions force an architect to work with additional constraints and potentially dial down the designs?
Yeah, we hear that a lot. But the thing is, the autonomous engineer, she does everything else that an architect is doing. So because architecture is a different education, it's a different trade, and the autonomous engineer is trained to do what engineers and project managers are doing. And to put it simple, you don't want an artistic sprinkler system or ventilation system, right? You want something that is optimal and work well, with use as little material and energy as possible. And she also takes the architectural model, so the architectural form and creativity, and that is what she uses as her constraints. So it actually is the opposite. So most architects just love us for that, because we can quickly give a good answer to a well-performing technical system that goes in line with the constraints that they have built.
Great position. So it's a facilitator as opposed to a constraint builder, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the next question I have in mind is more from the view of an entrepreneur. I think many of the participants are considering leveraging AI as a new technology for new business lines. So it is everywhere. What is unique about taking over an engineer's job in construction here?
I think the most unique is the magnitude of industrial use and what we would like to call AI for good, because it's not very scary AI. It's actually solving the big problems. Because we do have a global crisis due to the carbon footprint from built world, and the low productivity is a crisis for the industry. So I think, yeah, we're happy to see AI now everywhere, and we also see there's a lot of large language model AI out there. I think what is unique is that we build other kinds of AI as well. But of course, we use the large language models as much as possible because they're fantastic. But we also combine it. We have employed people with PhDs in a whole set of different AI technologies. I don't know how to put it because it's one technology, but there's a lot of other. You have genetic algorithms and physically informed neural networks. Yes, we build surrogate models on using wave equations of Bernoulli, and we're approximating the traditional CFD analysis. And so basically, we take every stochastic method that is out there or a heuristic method to give us statistically good enough answers at high speed, and that is how we disrupt what the engineers are doing with traditional logical software. So I think for everybody listening, this is an industry that there's plenty of potential left. Yeah.
I think there are some technical questions in the Q&A, which we will attack at the end of the session as well. That might be linked to this. But I want to pass the word to Karel here, because I think when you mentioned cost savings and supporting the architect, he might have a question to you on the link between sustainability and those.
Yeah, so it is clear that you're disrupting the construction industry and the advisors to the construction industry. You're not disrupting the architects, so there, as you're saying, they're happy to see you come. At the same time, this is a webinar series on sustainability. In a couple of words, how are you actually helping the sustainability of this industry, which is such a, like you're saying already, a big issue?
Yeah. I'm afraid we do the boring stuff. We do the boring part of sustainability, and it's about using less. But it's also a big business. So the reason we have been able to make something that is both sustainable and business is that it is an industry that uses that much material. So and also the cost of that material is carried by the industry, right? So when we reduce it, it also saves cost. So I think definitely the cost driver is very, very strong, but saving 20% of material is such a big sustainability thing in this industry that uses so much. So even like, I know that AI is not necessarily labeled with sustainable things, but like we work closely with NVIDIA because they also are like aiming for sustainable AI. And in our industry, because of the magnitude of it, because of that, the big problem we are for the world using all this material and all this energy, we can actually be sustainable using AI and earning money. I don't know how that goes together, but yeah. But also reducing kilometers of ducts and pipes and cable trays in. So it takes a lot of energy to push air and water in these ducts and pipes, etc. Right? And so we shorten it. We also make sure that the angles are better, so less energy craving to have water and air in it. So okay. I think it reflects on the size of the problem this industry is creating, and we go in and we do a massive thing and we just do less, very boring. There's a lot of more romantic stuff you can talk about of reuse and new materials and all that helps as well. But I think the reducing 20%, that is my aim for creating Consigli and scaling it globally.
Yeah. Let me give a different twist on it. From what I've been told from people in the construction industry, the first wave of sustainability has been more operational carbon emissions reductions, like lighting and electricity and water and all these kind of things, which are very, very important. And we have clients like Danfoss who are very active in this. And this used to be the biggest source of CO2 emissions. As this is being reduced, at least what I understand and would like to hear from you is that the embodied carbon emissions, so the carbon emissions that comes from the materials is the hard thing, and the second wave. And is that really where you're trying to put your teeth in and trying to make a contribution? Yeah.
Definitely. So the embodied carbon is due to engineers adding way too much. So it's overuse, waste, and overuse, and take away that. So we rebuild the buildings, so they have everything they need, but that overuse of material, that is what we target, and that takes down the embodied carbon. But it also reflects, because that overuse also causes longer stretches of ducts to have push air in, and pipes to push water in. So it is connected, and we go in the planning phase so that we plan really good systems, so we can build good systems, and then when you optimize the usage of them in operation and maintenance, I think that is how we can solve this huge problem together.
Yeah. All right, very good.
Thank you, Janne. I think, we spent quite a bit of time in understanding the technology and the contributions to sustainability, but we may want to go back a bit more to the entrepreneurial side. So for the entrepreneur, you mentioned a little bit that nobody was listening, but if you were to give us a bit of a structured answer as to what the initial challenges are and how did you overcome them, people might want to hear a bit of that too.
Yeah, I think the first one was timing. 3 weeks after I put in my resignation as a CEO in a big global company, the world was shutting down and we had a pandemic. So it was just not, it wasn't only me that went into reset mode kind of in that period of time. I put in my resignation in early and made a decision to build Consigli in early January 2020. But then I was lucky I could lean back on my long professional network of friends. So it wouldn't be able to build Consigli without that massive support from Norwegian real estate industry. So people logged on, helped us investigating in real problems, what to solve first, gave us data. We also benefited from everybody else stopped employing IT consultants. So we were able to get really, really good resources for a good price when everybody's shut down all the businesses. We were kind of starting it. So I think the first hurdle was the timing I picked to start the company, but has turned out to actually be good timing, because we were able to talk to people. People were like slowing down a bit in home office, had actually time to meet and think about new solution. And then I think the next hurdle was real estate as an industry it's very cyclic, right? And since we started in late 2020, it has just been going really, really fast down. So increasing interest rate. So the investments into the industry has definitely been a challenge for us. As soon as we started to get our first more app-like services in the market and further develop the deep tech, at least our home market in Norway, it's a tiny market, went to a complete standstill. But then it also kind of, how something happens, you make other choices. And then we made a choice to go further to bigger markets, probably earlier than we would have if the market at home was good. So we were really quick in going into UK. And then luckily UK was ready for us. So it was we're fast at getting into the market and starting to scale in the market. And then we gained some belief in ourselves, and we said, let's go to US as well. So we started this year going into US. So of course it is hard to build a startup. It is hard to build a startup with a global mindset, starting and scaling. I'm not good at thinking about what was a challenge. I think I'm better at figuring out what to do next than thinking back on what has been challenging. But definitely also sourcing people. We live in a small country, so we had to source globally. So we've been really good at Norwegian immigration laws, because we needed to get people from all over the world to come in and build this technology together with us. We couldn't just source from people who was in the country. So I think everybody who builds companies with in the scale that we want to build will meet a lot of challenges. I don't think we've had much bigger challenges than anyone else. You just need to love to work hard. I think that is the constant. You need to surround yourself with really good people, and you need to get rid of the people that are not really good, even you thought that to begin with, very fast. I think you need to believe in what you're doing is right and not listen too much to people who claim to be experts but have never done anything themselves before. There's plenty of those. We call them the startup pariahs. So I think the challenge is sometimes to navigate and not be overwhelmed by other people's opinions. So navigate in believing what you're out there to do, and just do that, and bring the people on board who really wants to do that as well. So that could be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Again, following on the entrepreneurial question, most entrepreneurs try to say, well, I'm going to go after these customers and not after those customers, right? So you go for a particular targeting of your market. Who do you say is your prime target as customers, and what makes them attractive to you?
Yeah, and I think that is crucial. I'm saying no much more than I say yes. There's so many opportunities, and people get very enthusiastic and very creative of everything we can do and everybody we can sell to. And when we say we work in real estate and we do engineering, people say, oh, what about this industry and this industry? And luckily, I normally just say, well, we're in the biggest asset class. I cannot see why we should pivot to something smaller. And in our strategy, it is the developer. So the developers, the owners of buildings, because they would then employ the autonomous engineer or buy our services instead of the consultants. It's a much easier transition or change to buy something new instead of doing something new yourself. So that is one. But we also for the general contractors, because they also have in their bidding phase, they get their subcontractors in. So it's a kind of very many similarities in the process they go in when they're preparing a bid as the developers do when they are specifying the building enough to get a bid from the contractors. So developers, real estate developers globally, general contractors globally, but then there are markets that we go in before others, because of course engineers, I think that is an irony. It seems now that countries and regions that are where the engineers are making the decisions of innovation are starting to lag behind. So I normally start meetings asking like, who in this meeting is an engineer and who's finance? Because I know all the engineers that looks at what we have is just thinking, what can she not do? What can go wrong here? What is dangerous? And all the finance people are thinking, oh, where can I do shortcuts? Where can I save? Where can I get money in earlier? So we've gone to London. It's very much business here. We go to Singapore, very much business, US, business driven. We have not gone to Germany. Disrupting engineers in Germany is really hard, because in Germany, the engineers are king. It's really hard to disrupt the king. So I think knowing the business model, knowing the culture, knowing the industry, deep knowledge of the industry, I think that is how we have segmented the market within developers and general contractors.
Thank you.
I think once you level the technology and come up with some market success, the next step is to think about scale. So what are the next steps in scaling Consigli? Again, speaking to the entrepreneurs here.
Well, We are racing around right now because we see that now real estate market is bouncing back. Interest rates are turning down again, finally. So we're currently racing around to just scale the commercial team. We see that the technical team has been built global from the very beginning. Our technology has been built global from the very beginning. We have product market fit in Europe, in US, in Asia to some extent. Because we have product market fit in US and UK, it kind of leads to a product market fit in the Middle East, because a lot of the management and the setup there is built from consultants in UK and US. So for us, it's clearly to use the position as category defining company with product market fit in these regions. Now, when the market is coming back, AI maturity is increasing, and just scale globally. That is the only way we can reduce those 20% globally of material usage.
Just a case in point, some people are asking you whether you'd like to work with INSEAD people in France in the Q&A.
I've had 3 meetings with Paris today, different meetings. Yes, we're really eager to get into Paris and France. We have developers headquartered here in London that has projects in France. So yes.
Okay. Janne, like any entrepreneur, of course, you're trying to figure out, once people see what my success is, they're going to try to come and do the same thing and maybe disrupt you, as you're disrupting other people. What is competitive advantage for you, and how do you define it now? How do you think when the others are coming in, where are you going to be unique, and stay unique?
Yeah, the thing about being category defining in forefront is that it doesn't last until you are continue being quick. Well, you need to be quicker than the others still. So I think when we started, our competitive advantage was that we knew the industry. We know the business models. We know the different, both the technology, the processes, and the business models throughout the value chain. It's a highly complex value chain. So I think that was our starting point that was better than anyone else could have had, and paired with deep technical knowledge. I think right now, our competitive advantage is that we already have products in the market. We already have a brand. We have the most fantastic team. And it takes time to build a team. Picking people with PhDs in really narrow technical fields, they're usually individualists, right? So it takes a while to get them to work as a team. And we've put a lot of effort into that. We have an amazing CTO who is just fantastic at building teams. So I think the competitive advantage now is that we have all the development in-house with a fantastic, highly skilled team, but also a team that works together. And that is not something you can buy or you can just put together. That is not something that has been developed over time, because people need to build trust, needs to get used to working together and all of that. So that is probably like the brand we have, the knowledge, the deep knowledge we have of the industry, coming from the industry. But then again, also the team that we have on the technical side and development side in-house, with a global footprint, but work together as a team. So I think that is the only competitive advantage is possible to have within technology, because you just need to be at the very forefront all the time. There's no leaning back, because then others, like I said, others will come, and I just have to make sure they cannot catch up.
Yeah, some people are saying GenAI is, and we got a little bit into that already. GenAI is everywhere and will be everywhere. So if this is defining Consigli, you're not, worried that this is going to, this meeting of other people is going to go faster than you anticipate?
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always worried. I'm paranoid. But I see it as a good thing that AI now is everywhere, because when I started to talk about AI, they didn't understand what I was talking about, and then they were scared, and suddenly everybody wanted AI, no matter what it was. And now I think the maturity comes when people have started to use this large language model, AI, see how fantastic it is when you write your letters to your family or the song for a party or an application. And just people getting the knowledge of AI really helps us. I think where we are is not that AI that is everywhere, because we also have that specialist industrial AI that is not apps building on large language model. Although, of course, these large language models are fantastic for us because we combine them together with all those other disciplines within the AI spectrum.
I think this is a good point to bring up a question that came up several times in the Q&A. I've been watching it. So people talk about hallucinations and verification of the solution itself. Maybe you want to say a bit about how your in-house solution differs from what people understand when we say GenAI, as they equate it with large language models, I suppose.
Yeah. 2 days after I was a little bit slow. It took me 2 days after ChatGPT was launched. I didn't sleep that night. I came to the office, or at night I was like, is this really happening? Because we had already services in the market where we took all these tender documentation packages, we parsed them, we trained data models, we searched, and we had vectors on all the words, and we used natural language processing, which is the AI that large language models are built on, right? So we had the products in the market, and then I saw, well, somebody or OpenAI comes with these fantastic technologies within that, and I called my largest external investor really late at night, and I said, "Is this really happening?" I had a feeling that, you know, when you're packed with your suitcases all packed at the station, and this really fast train is passing by, you can just board it and it will take you somewhere. And I came to the office and talked to the people with PhDs in natural language processing, and I said, look at this, this is amazing. And they were like, yeah, but it hallucinates and it lies and all that, so we need to take down the creativity. But that's a good thing. You can turn down creativity, you can turn down hallucination. So in the services, we have some services where you can chat to documentation, you can chat to the building and all that. In those services, we've taken down the hallucination, we've taken down the creativity, we add in so that you can actually press and you can see which project documentation and documents has she used when she gives you these answers. So we kind of wrap it into a secure environment. And I like to when it comes to these tools, I said, you wouldn't put anyone on a building site in running shorts, right? You need secure clothing on a building site. You need secure industrialized solutions when you're going to use these models at work. So we wrap it into a secure environment, and we pair it with all kinds of other AI as well. And for the hallucination, the good thing about what we produce is that you get a full BIM, as we call it, a building information model in 3D. You can actually see what she has produced. You can see whether it makes sense. You get reports of the pressure loss calculations. You get bill of quantities reports. You get fire reports. You get reports in writing, so you can read it and understand it as a human and check whether it makes sense or not. So it doesn't just go off by itself. It's very technical, I think it's a perfect place to use AI because it's very physical in our world.
Thank you, Janne. Karel, you want to go with the vision questions before we move on to the Q&A?
Yeah, so I just would like to ask one last question, then we quickly go into the Q&A. Where do you see Consigli in 5 years? You know, so what's success looking like for you?
My plan is that all early stage engineering of buildings, and probably within infrastructure as well, is done by AI instead of humans. Because we see when humans are doing this, we use 20% more material than we need to. And I want for that to stop. So we're working with 2 major things. That is to scale globally, to get as much market share as we can globally. And also, of course, making sure that our code doesn't become legacy, because AI is moving so fast. So the code we had 6 months ago, it's renewed already. So in 5 years' time, my hope is that the way we do engineering is mainstream. And I of course, hope that we have a large market share of that.
Okay, very good. Atalay, you've been looking at the questions already as we were talking. Are there some questions that you said, well, we should be really asking Anna and Jan in the time we have?
I think there are two questions that Janne would love to hear. One of them is, how can we get in touch with you to work with you? The other one is, how can we invest in Consigli? Maybe you can give us a quick answer on those, and then we can go more into the business side questions.
Yeah, we actually are racing around at the moment. I was planning to close it on Friday, but maybe I need to listen to people who contact me. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn, so find me on LinkedIn, link with me, and refer to this webinar. That is absolutely the easiest way. Other than that, my email address is just janne@consigli.no or AI or .co.uk. But LinkedIn is definitely a good place to get hold of me, and it would be wonderful if I was able to meet more people to work in Consigli through this webinar, and of course investors as well.
All right, thank you, Janne. I think the other question links to our scaling discussion that we kept slightly short. So the participants are asking, is there any way this connects to the suppliers? How does this go beyond the builders and developers?
Yeah, technically we could go all the way into detailed design and shop drawings and all of that. But the thing is, we cannot yet get liability insurance for AI because the insurance companies are not mature enough so that they can only give insurance to humans. And because it is the AI that does the engineering, that is not possible. But in the business process, normally that early stage engineering, nobody takes liability for that anyway. Everything is pushed to the general contractor, and they push the liability to subcontractors. And that's the phase where you put in the products and the suppliers come in. But we do have quite a lot of both suppliers and subcontractors, together with the contractors as well, that use the autonomous engineer to check the tender documentation, to see how the products fit, where is the risk for product, check their O&M documentation before they submit it back to the client, and all that. So definitely working with both suppliers, subcontractors, and general contractors a lot. And hopefully, I'm thinking if we're able to go early phase engineering globally, and then we can go as the business processes matures towards AI, we can go more detailed as well and get more efficiency in that as well. Because I think AI is definitely a huge technological shift, but the shift AI is going to make in the business processes in real estate and construction is just going to be much bigger because we lag so much behind. And these technologies are so well to solve a lot of what we've been struggling with for 100 years in the industry. Mm-hmm. So I think that is the most, we talk today and it's like, oh, it takes up this and this and this on what we're doing. But then I say, well, there's going to be change in the business process, because when you can take down the engineering time, we normally deliver a full early stage design in 2 days. This is normally something that takes 6, 9, 15 months. So when you take down that to 2 days, you can start early production of what is going to the building site. It just changes everything upside down, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So the business process changes that is going to follow of this technical shift in our industry is going to be fantastic to be a part of.
I think this liabilities point you raised takes us back another year, because this question came up with EcoVadis too. It was a company that was providing ratings but not certification, right? And this notion of providing sustainability information without assurance could be perceived as a downside of the issues. Now, some of our participants are asking a related question. They're basically saying, building deficiencies imply certain liabilities. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, and I think that is where we really benefit from the deep knowledge of how things are done in industry. So we've been, from the very beginning, navigating within that business process, knowing about the liability issues all along. So we fit our services into where we can move without ending up in a liability discussion. And you also see that if somebody takes liability for doing engineering in that early phase, they normally limit that liability to the amount that has been billed from them during that time. And that you can do that if you use a year and a half to do the engineering, because then that is a huge amount, right? But as soon as that is in 2 days, and you reduce the price 99%, then that liability is going to zero, right? So then, and that is why I talk about the shift in the business process. So the pure foundation of the whole liability setup disappears, and then there will be a lot of shifts.
Thank you.
So Janne, maybe just we don't have too much time anymore, but so you're now going around the globe already. Where do you find clients more receptive? And you said, I don't really want to go to Germany that much. It seems to be very, very hard. But where are you going to, plan your international expansion? So that's really the spirit of my question.
Yeah, I think it's probably a very solid sign that I moved to London this summer. The same did our COO. We're moving more people as well to London. If you see where standing assets are sourced from globally, you'll see London being very, very high up there. It's business driven here. A lot of real estate money is sourced from London, so definitely London. We see US as I'm not sure how we could conclude on the US market, because everybody's very afraid of AI, much more than in Europe. But then again, AI comes from America, right? And then we have the real estate developers. Some are really driven of business, and others are just really driven on as is and culture. So I think you have a broad spectrum. So in US, we meet all kinds of, but because the market is so big, you definitely have those professional, big, both general contractors and developers who are the first ones to take us in. And then the projects are huge. Middle East, definitely. If you look where are the investments in real estate these days, is Texas and Middle East. So sizes of markets, definitely. I always, Singapore has a special place in my heart. I love the business model and how I love that way of doing business. They're very business oriented, and they really have huge ambitions when it comes to sustainability from the government side. So Singapore is definitely going to be the hub from the Asian expansion. But that being said, we already have 2 of the largest general contractors in Japan as customers. So Japan, definitely exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's more because standardization, everything we do is more or less the same all over the world. Like it's global standards, global laws of physics. It's international standards. It's the same suppliers more or less globally. So we are navigating in a place where there will be local differences, but they are so small within our field that we can actually scale, and especially with help with a large language model technology, it's a lot easier as well. It takes us about a week to go into a new country.
Maybe just 2 more things is what are you particularly proud of? If you think back now of, and you said I already have a good team and all these kind of things, but I was referring also, I think you have an all-female executive committee. Is that correct?
Almost. We have a male CFO. Well, female founded, female led, and a company with great men as well. So and we have been discussing it. I know if we had a male CEO, CTO, COO, and a female CFO, everybody would say, "Oh, you have diversity." But then when it's opposite, people are like, "Oh, this is cool." And people tend not to say also that it's not cool, especially investors. Female entrepreneur gets not the same kind of money as male entrepreneurs, and that is not something that needs to change. But I'm just really proud of all the people in the company. We have amazing people, so I think that's what I'm most proud of. Also proud of my family that allows me to do this. I have kids that have moved to London with me, and a husband that couldn't move and stay at home. We are renting out our home and our cabins to have to build this company. So I'm very proud of my family that supports building this company, and also our involved in it, helping out on all levels. And I think this week I'm very proud of our external investors as well, because when I say, oh, we need now to really give it some power and scale the commercial team to grow globally, and they all came, it's like, yeah, we're in. So I think the whole Consigli crew, I'm proud of.
Very good. Yeah. Recommendations to anybody who is listening, who says, I would love to do the same thing. I would love to be an entrepreneur, use GenAI. You've done it, you're doing it. What is there that you would say, well, here, I got a couple of pieces of advice for you?
Yeah, I think first advice, do not hang around on the tech scene because there are no customers there. It's a lot of fun. You can talk to others, you can be a hero, and you can talk to investors and all that. But if you don't find customers, you're not going to get any revenue, and then you don't get money, and then you don't have a company. So go ahead, but spend all the time in your market with your potential customers, and all the time there. Pitching competitions, all of that is just rubbish. So don't spend any time on that scene pitching on tech stages, because it's just a waste. Somebody has to say that, because it's a huge marketing, like the whole VC industry and all that is like a huge marketing circus going on, but you don't get revenue from that, and revenue is what you need. Call everyone you know or have access to who has built companies. Never pay anyone to be an advisor, because the people who take money from somebody who wants to create a startup and wants to get paid for it, you don't want their advice. You want advices from people who has built before, and those will never charge you for the advices. They will always give it to you for free. I think that's probably the most important, and just it's hard, but it's a lot of fun. But I think if you wonder whether you should do it or not, you should probably do it.
Fantastic, Janne. So it's we said it is at the beginning when we started the webinar, it's promising, and I'm pretty sure that if you're already getting questions from the audience, how can we invest? How can we get in contact? You've already convinced a couple of people, so that's fantastic. We wish you all the success, of course, in the world. Just like last year, we wrote a case study on EcoVadis. We're writing a case study on Consigli, and that's going to come to market very, very soon. So in the next month or 2 months, it will be ready. And so your story will be able to be read more easily in a text. But of course, people can also come back to the recording here. So thank you.
Thank you, Janne.
For sharing this. Again, congratulations. Just Anna, maybe just a last couple of words on the webinar before you close. Yeah. So,
but I would also like to say thank you so much for having me, Karel, and the collaboration so far. It's been fantastic for us to have to think about these things as well in a real manner. So thank you so much for having us.
All right, you're more than welcome.
Thanks to all the participants too. Good to have you all.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for joining, everybody. Oops, the slide disappeared. Okay. And that probably means that the session is closing, Anna? No, okay. So very important, like last year, we nominate alumni for the INSEAD Business Sustainability Awards. That's coming up in February. We have already many nominations, but please, if you do know somebody that you say, well, this person should be nominated for the award this year, please contact me, and we'll pursue that. Thank you for your loyalty, for your interest in the sustainability series, and so we'll be in touch soon. Thank you, Janne. Talk to you later.
Bye.